And we're back, and we're actually a little bit further into the game than I think we probably would have liked to, but a couple of things going on our end. So LGD off the bat here have already got themselves point control. It looks like they've won themselves the first team fight as well, looking to build towards ultimates, nearly all 6 online for LGD.
Yeah, you know, we said some maybe mean things about Tonchio at the beginning, but he has got his Earth Shadow ready to go, and his name did pop up quite a bit in the kill feed, perhaps a little bit before we made it back live on air. DPS lingering behind a little bit though, Ship.
Oh, EMP comes through with the stun as well. LGD looking just to push their advantage right on through. Wanley able to find the first blood of the fight, but not really much of a follow-up, but still, you have to be very careful here. TSL have a lot of resources they could potentially use. A nice little soft reset coming out. LGD did use quite a bit there. Rally's still in effect. They used the Shatter and the EMP together, but they still have that Grav Surge to go.
And this is going to be Raphael's time to come in and use his own EMP, with which TSL can come in and follow up with all of their ultimates.
Graviton Surge coming through. 666 Legend will respond, but they will have to use just the Sound Barrier to come through. No Transcendence here. Now the Earth Shatter coming through. Only find one down, but Taeju is the objective that they needed, and that's exactly what was taken through DPS. We talked about this man. What can he do to put his team on his back? But Hoyo-chan able to find one more burst from the sound gun to take down one, and now it's going to be a response with an EMP from Wanli, and without any shields, be your no-bait frontliner as well. LGD will push their objective forward, and it looks like it's just clean up from here. If they can find a way to take care of the Lucio, this will likely be the first stage of the respawns are coming through in staggered fashion. Tanshu, though, still very full charge, will not quite be able to find the pin as the translocator came out. So actually 666 Legend will actually back cap the point, but DPS falls. And again, the numbers are here for LGD. They also have some ultimates to potentially utilize for this cleanup. This comes down to when do they use them? How about now, says Tanshu. The pin comes in, and the Transcendence is able to be responded. So 666 Legend will be able to hold on to the point for quite some time, but again, without their main frontliner here, they have to be very, very careful of how they approach this. Umbra now back into the mix as DPS is back into the fight. This comes down to, can they find this first opening objective kill? The EMP comes through to stun out 4, but does not find Secret, who does get the Transcendence off in time. Looking for the damage, and it will be actually be TSL finding the entire front line. It comes to the back end of the Graviton Surge. TSL will hold on to the point and stay alive in this first map.
Dangerous waters here for TSL, as it only takes one lost fight for them to lose this entire point. Back to LGD, who are sitting there nicely on the 99%. It did take them a lot of effort to actually be able to turn things around there. They're playing very, very reactively and consistently behind LGD, and Wanli here doing a little bit of scouting, maybe trying to get some damage in to finish up the percentage up to his EMP, which so far we've seen can be pretty powerful.
Absolutely couldn't. He's been hitting a couple of really nice ones too, finding 4+, but the bigger thing is the fact that LGD has followed up with it. Wanli now charged on the EMP. Looking for a way to maneuver. Graviton Surge will actually open things up. Sound Barrier and Earth Shatter right here, but the EMP comes in response with a Sound Barrier for LGD, and it's just a steamroll from there. The snowballs being found very quickly at the back end of what it was a really good initiation. It was a tough area for Wanli to dive into just to find the EMP, so why not start it off with the Graviton Surge, and it works flawlessly. LGD just have to take care of the last player, which was a Sombra. They'll flip it and find the first map set in their favor here for Nepal.
Very little effort there for LGD to take it back. I think when TSL actually managed to take the point, it's probably felt like a little bit of a tickle for them. They just had to get it out of the way. And I think for TSL, you know, they were in that position at one point where they had so many ultimates on the board, and I think maybe just the order in which they used them, it wasn't quite coordinated properly, and they weren't actually able to get enough value off of them where they could have had the potential to have taken the point very decisively in that moment. So coming now into Village, it's going to be something that they're going to want to look out for. Maybe allow DPS to do a little bit more of the work, as he was really lagging behind Tonchio in terms of ult charge, and we've been talking about how in the past few weeks he's been carrying very hard, and I want to see where this is.
Yeah, it'd be good to kind of get like a barometric test as far as, you know, where is he in the mindset. Again, him versus Tanshu, a very experienced frontline player. And it looks like LGD will wrap the backside of the point, while 666 Legend will opt for the high ground here. So as this point will look to open up, it just comes down to when does TSL dive in. Looks like immediately they want to try to dive on through into the point, but they will be stuffed out for just a second as Tanshu shield does a lot of work, and oh no, that's terrible, as the Brigida does fall very quickly for TSL. Rookie does get taken down, so an opportunity to fight this one back if you are TSL. DPS very close to already building up his first Earth Shatter, up to 70%, staying even with Tanshu, but take a look at what LGD has to fight back in this fight, and they do have more supports online. Raphael very low, has to back away for TSL. Point in contest as it was opened up for LGD. Tanshu does fall though, and it looks like with that being down, the main take not being there, DPS has free reign to move forward, which he will draw that line in the proverbial sand, even though it looks more like snow this time around, as it will be a full-on win for TSL. They'll flip it and also meet that 16% here, no problem.
Yeah, they're gonna catch up with that fairly quickly, and they do have these ultimates online as well that they can use, and throwing a Graviton Surge into such a close quarters area could be quite dangerous for LGD because it'll be very easy for TSL to deal in the damage. Maybe they'll land the Earth Shadow on top of it. We do see that sometimes happen. Or they can land the EMP when there are a number of the members in that short range together.
EMP, though, starts things off. There's time for TSL and Raphael, and he finds all 6. The Shatter comes through, will likely come through. DPS doesn't even need it yet. The Shield Bash was enough to take Wan Li out of mech, but they've lost Shush. So now it just comes down to TSL. Can you put things back into perspective? The Earth Shatter is great, though, and DPS will clean up everything in front of him, just slapping on through with that big fat hammer, and TSL will hold on to the point. This will likely be a good 70% before it gets recontested again.
Okay, we asked where DPS was and what was going on with him, and that Earth Shadow really proved that actually he's turning things around. He just needed a little bit of a warm-up. So as you say, 666 Legend, they are taking the lead further and further here. LGD Gaming getting ready to come back in for their next engagement. Tonchi, of course, crucially not going to have anywhere near that Earth Shadow for this next fight, so they're going to be relying on the Graviton Surge.
LGD trying to catch them off guard, will speed around, throw in the Graviton Surge, but they do get EMP'd immediately in response from Raphael, and even though it was a good initiation for LGD, TSL says we know exactly how this story goes, and are able to counter with a little bit of a game changer of that EMP coming through very quickly again. TSL hold on and looking to put this one away.
Yeah, that's what happens when you start to gain that momentum, and we're getting into this last fight territory here where if LGD don't win this next fight, then they're probably not going to win this point. It's getting closer to 100%. I don't even know if they're going to reach the point.
It'll be close. Overtime will be procced. Thank you very much for Hoyo-chan for coming in. Sound Bearer also has to be utilized, though, as they need to get the rest of the team involved into contesting. Umbra will set things up with the Graviton Surge. Earth Shatter also down for DPS. Does it have enough follow-up behind it, though? Not look that there's enough, as looks like LGD were going to be the ones to turn things around pretty quickly as the front line melts completely. DPS getting taken down. Not even needed to use too many ultimates on the back end of it, so LGD will flip this point and have some decent ultimate charge of their own starting to build up.
Yeah, this is their chance now to get in position, ready for 666 Legend to come back in and do their own attack. But they're actually toying with the point here, sending in Raphael to just kind of put it in that contention. And that could in theory, draw LGD out from the positions that they set up for themselves.
You need to be very careful if you're LGD because you do not have any support ultimates. You would love to get this Transcendence out before this Graviton Surge comes through. Tanshu able to find an Earth Shatter, which does take down the Brigida plus the rest of the front line. It is a good fight win, but again, 666 Legend does not use any ultimates, so they do scrap this one, and they've got plenty of time to afford to do that since it's only at 55% for LGD now.
Yeah, Tonchi is swinging very hard there. 666 Legend got to wait for Umbra to come back. As we saw, he was the last one to respawn there. So that's going to allow some more time for this percentage to tick up. Now it's 66%, 67%. It's getting closer and closer for LGD to catch up. Raphael getting ready with this EMP, though.
Oh, Raphael, that was not what you wanted. He was trying to hack very quickly, just the right click on the secret, but wasn't able to do so. Now the point is actually being fought over, and there's no EMP here, so can LGD start themselves off correctly and early, but not able to find much. The EMP does come through, finding most of the frontliners of LGD. Shatter also being dropped by DPS, not finding much as the Transcendence from Secret comes through, as they are still fighting this 5-on-6 LGD, but they are running out of resources to use, very close to an Earth Shatter of their own. Can they keep Tanshu alive, though? The answer is no, and with that down, TSL will push on through. They'll flip the point, and they'll have the numbers to make sure overtime fades away in their favor. They do it at the last second, but they still get the job done. We're drawn up 1-1.
Yeah, much like in the previous series, we'll be going on to a third point. But I think what was really key at the end there for TSL was after using that Earth Shatter coming out from DPS, that forced LGD to then use the Transcendence. We also saw the Projected Barrier come out just after the Transcendence, and they thought that that was going to be enough to keep them on the point, give them the power and the mainstay to remain there. But it just wasn't enough once those resources were no longer available. That gave TSL just the the opening to be able to walk straight in, put some hammers in some faces, and bring the team down. So moving into Sanctum, it's actually looking like we're going to have something a little bit more interesting coming out from TSL with perhaps this double sniper.
Yeah, it's going to come through. Let's see how it goes. You said it so casually, too. Hammers into faces.
Well, you know.
Like you have a lot of experience in that
Gotta say, like...
no, I don't want to know what you do on your weekends. Raphael able to start things off, though, with the Storm Arrows into Tonshu's face. So now it's actually a little bit of the arrow meeting face this time around. This 666 Legend will look to open the point in their favor, but not going away as LGD. Not even soft reset. They're actually looking for a full kind of swarm and surround here. This point will open up and likely will still stay in favor of TSL, but LGD will likely try to contest very quickly as Rookie is being pushed on through very quick. You see as well, you have Tonshu there, but it's actually going to be DPS starting things off in their favor, taking down Kaneki and Tonshu, falling numbers here again for TSL, and this will likely mean the point will go very decidedly in their favor.
Yeah, that's a really... The position that LGD found themselves in there was they had to wait in this side room to decide what they were going to do, because with the double sniper, you do have this risk of a crossfire, and especially with the Hanzo sitting in the center on the point, he does have that lunge ability where he can pretty much jump to any part of the map that he wishes. And so that made it quite hard for LGD to decide which direction they were going to take, and obviously they had to take one in the end, and they were just met with so much damage from 666 Legend.
But I like the idea, though, for LGD. Just get aggressive and make sure that the Widow and the Hanzo have to keep displacing themselves as you see them kind of doing the same thing once again, but Rookie wants to play from the point. We'll look for a predictive barrier. I don't know if they actually got onto Tonshu. He will back up, but he's not safe enough as LRC able to finish him off. Now Raphael can focus his attention to the point. Looks like the Dragon Strike will come through to zone out the right side through that back alley, and that's absolutely brilliant because it allows Sober to move on in to find a double boop. And this is looking good for TSL, up to 50% plus now as they win another team fight.
Yeah, bringing out that supercharger as well, giving you the 50% damage buff is definitely very good when you want to be winning those team fights, and now getting closer and closer to the 2/3 mark of this point. LGD don't actually have any ultimates on the board, and they're going to be going against the Transcendence as well as, you know, an offensive ultimate and a utility ultimate for the Widowmaker. So they're not in the advantageous position, but they're closer and closer to losing this point shift.
Yeah, they needed to make something happen here as LGD. They're still trying to make their way into the back line of TSL, but they're doing a really good job of just rotating around the outside. A little bit of a split fight happening, though, as TSL on the point is looking like they're in trouble, but LRC able to find a headshot at Hoyo-chan, and that's enough to pop open the Transcendence and keep everybody from TSL nice and full on the HP. Sound barrier well cycled as well, and it just comes down to LGD. They have to continue to try to fight this 6v5. Self-destruct does end to take down Sober as the point had flipped previously, so a Tonshu causing some havoc with the Primal Rage. LGD do get a flip in last second territory, but again, they have to play a pretty perfect game from here on out.
Yeah, and Raphael's just got his Dragon Strike back online, so maybe able to cause some zoning onto LGD or even catch some of the members in it if he is lucky, and that could really give 666 Legend their opening. There we go, coming out right now, being sent down the middle. I imagine he's going to change. Yeah, there we go. So they're actually switching to their own version of the Winston Goats, so they're going to be playing fire with fire, but the difference is Hoyo-chan has the sound barrier to protect LGD.
They have, generally speaking, just the ultimate economy in their favor still. So you're looking at this from LGD's perspective as you do not want to use a lot here. You need to make sure this ultimate economy stays in your favor so you can get it to the 90% mark. TSL doing what they can to find some high damage. Raphael is doing a really good job, actually, of getting himself near full charge. The sound barrier comes through for LGD, and Shush will be taken away before the Transcendence can be fully charged. So it looks like TSL will have to back up. At least they should have to back up. Still sticking around for a little bit longer because that Zarya is near full charge, but LGD will still win the day.
Well, they could find that in this next engage, they may have the Transcendence, which it's possible they could use it to aid their engagement. That is a bit of a risk because it means you then can't use it reactively to protect yourselves. But as LGD are getting closer and closer to meeting their percentage, they may have to.
Graviton Surge used. You want to take down Raphael as fast as possible if you're LGD. You do not want this Graviton Surge to come through, but the Transcendence from Sush is good. So now all of a sudden TSL, can they flip this fight around? Primal Rage already used for Tonshu, as well as the Transcendence is charged up for when Raphael wants to drop this Graviton Surge in place. So it just comes down to the timing of it and the place, of course. Looking to possibly find Wan Lee, trying to get that defensive Matrix out of the way so he can find a free grab, but Self-Destruct will come through first. Now the Graviton Surge is used, but it doesn't really find a whole lot, as unfortunately for TSL, a lot of members were able to escape. Unfortunately, though, Hoyo-chan for LGD were not able to get away, but Rookie comes back with his second Graviton Surge. Is there damage to follow up, though? Good barrier being being placed to try to keep everybody alive for TSL. They don't have any support ultimates though, so it comes down to just raw damage. Who can win out this last fight for the 99 versus 99 on the point? Looks like TSL have the numbers and the health pools. They will clean this one up.
Hoya-chan.
Hoya-chan found a 3-man boop. Are you kidding me? That's absolutely huge. So now all of a sudden, we're getting into second ultimate territories. Tangshu's back into the primal range. Kaneki is so close to being able to find a rally as well. Hoya-chan, you legend of a man. Sober will do what he can to do the self-hitting sound barrier. But I don't know if that's going to be enough. They will have a couple more members coming through the self-destruct sequences place, but there's no shields here for this. So Wan Li will actually fall away. This fight is still going, Geo. DPS in the primal rage will do what he can to stay alive, but he's the last monkey down, and he will be pushed off the map again. Why not, Hoya-chan? Go ahead and get that one too. Oh my goodness, LGD, heroic plays to secure the map.
Wow, and you know, I was thinking actually the way that they were positioned meant that TSL had the advantage to be able to boot members of LGD off the side if they were to try and get onto the point. And then Hoya-chan just kind of comes out of nowhere, gets that 3K with the boop, completely turns the fight around. Panda, what did you think about this?
Well, I genuinely like TSL, that adaptation that started to come through onto Village. You started to see a very aggressive front line of TSL. I'm sorry. A very aggressive DPS. The front line is only DPS, and it's only going to be from here on out. DPS was able to pull themselves back, play very passive in a way too. Go back and take a look at this highlight real quick. This is what you were talking about. This 3K boop. Oh, I thought they were gonna show me. I got you baited. Please, please, production. Why? Anyway,
you saw it in the kill feed. It counts.
Anyway, yeah, we were all here. We were all here. Hashtag I was here. You know, it's still, at the end of the day, going over to Sanctum as well with that Arista composition, behind DPS, they were able to play a very passive manner, very punishing manner. They were forcing LGD to come at them. It was quite literally a come at me, dude, kind of composition, because every time that LGD made those aggressive decisions, TSL always punished them for it. Every time TSL started making these aggressive decisions, such as DPS's Reinhardt play on Shrine, leading into that aggressive play that led to that 3K boop, always ends in a very failed team fight for TSL. They're always so close in those engagements until they start getting a little over aggressive with their positioning, and then they always fall up short.
Yeah, and of course, when you have the enemy team also getting aggressive, taking that opportunity after Hoya-chan's boop and actually moving in, that can put so much pressure on you, especially in those 99-99 situations. Right. It can make it very difficult to actually stay on point.
You get overtime spawns at that point as well, and TSL, because of that, I mean, DPS literally had to burn half the primal rage just getting back to the point itself, and that's just how devastating, even on control, that those overtime spawns can actually be.
Oh, this is interesting. I got to see the Sombra v Sombra matchup was what I was going to go to first and foremost. Wan Li looked really good early. Raphael looked good late. This might be something to see in the future. Panda, what do you think about this Sombra thing? Is this what we're going to see more often throughout the rest of the set?
I don't think Raphael beats Wan Li in the Sombra matchup. Where I think, again, TSL do well as a whole team is what you see on your screen. Not that 3K boop. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, that was really good from Hoya-chan, but that's not what I'm talking about. I think they do well when they're playing as a cohesive unit. When the whole composition benefits from every single member on the team, I think that's where TSL can find value. It's not around Raphael's Sombra. It definitely helps out in a certain regard shift, but it's not a win condition for them.
Well, we've got ourselves quite a condition in front of us as TSL and LGD would love a win here to try to put themselves in contention for the playoff spot that does loom for the top 4 teams in their pool. We'll be back with match number 2 just after this. TSL LGD in a good one just after this.
Willing to risk if that's something that they think is worth taking that risk on. So it can definitely be something that we could look at, because obviously, as we saw on Sanctum, you know, the sniper play really wasn't too bad, particularly with the Hamzah, it was going fairly well. But yeah, as I say, they do typically identify themselves with their main tank DPS, which is such a confusing name. It's so stupid. But they do typically identify themselves with him. And so it could be that they just end up coming out on a classic sort of GOATS composition.
Well, it looks like as we will be heading out of spawn, TSL will be bringing an Ashe to the table for LRC with what would regularly, besides everybody else, would look like a traditional GOATS comp, but with Ashe involved, maybe the Dynamite can help put some extra damage down, but Secret will say, head on back and reconsider how you want to approach this one here, friends, as Raphael takes an Orb of Destruction to the face. LGD playing on your more Sombra. I like to call it Spy Goats, personally. It's everything besides the D.Va with Sombra involved, and it's looking good to start off with our LGD.
Yeah, it looks like 666 aren't actually going to change anything up. They're going to stick to their guns and stick with what they know. It's going to be a little bit harder to play the Ashe from the low ground when the defending team are up on the high ground, and you really want to be watching out for Wanli, who can come around and actually get those hacks on. So there's a lot of responsibility going to be on LRC, but there's also going to be a lot of danger for him as well.
Oh, Tanshu wants to dive right on in, again stapled for his aggressive gameplay, and he does push everybody for 666 Legend back, but LGD has forfeited the high ground, so now a lot of room to work for TSL. They do want to move around. Umbra very close to that Graviton Surge, sitting at 75%. Tanshu very close, though, to having an Earthshatter at 83% and counting. And now we're seeing Rookie will start things off with a Graviton Surge for LGD. Moving on in, will be the rest of the team able to push on through. Tanshu finds 2 just off the charge. We'll throw a Fire Strike out for good measure and trying to make sure that DPS does not find any charge towards his Shatter. Very smart player there to let the more projectile-focused damage dealers take him down. TSL gets thwarted once again.
Yeah, once again, they're going to have to go back, and they are having their DPS heroes really be targeted, and especially when you're going against the Sombra, you can't afford to not have your Brigitte there, because her shield bash could be vital in getting rid of the Sombra. But they do have their own Graviton Surge now, so if they can get this well placed then and follow up, then they could be able to get the point, but they're going to have to force LGD out of their position first. But the EMP...
Oh, that's just so nasty, and it's right on top of Sush, who falls first. Everybody else falls behind it. This is a scrapped fight. Chalk it up. Restart, try again. Unfortunately, though, for TSL, they did actually end up using the sound barrier, so no support ultimates coming back through for this next engagement for TSL.
Yeah, TSL, they did use that sound barrier, as you say, no support ultimates, but LGD have both, which means that whatever TSL do now is going to be so hard to break through LGD because they can protect themselves so well, but with just a minute and a half to go, they can't really afford to switch things up and lose what they do have on the board.
We'll see how you approach this for TSL. A lot to work with here. You need to poke for a little bit. They do end up getting a Transcendence to respond, does LGD. So it just comes down to, can you get Bob to do some work? There he goes. Right on out he goes. LRC, they're already in some trouble. Graviton Surge is used for LGD, pushes everybody from TSL in the same spot, but now the counter comes through. Transcendence is able to keep the front line alive nicely as Tanshu was falling very low. No eliminations yet, so we'll just let all those ultimates fall to the wayside. Now TSL has an advantage as we're looking at a 6-on-6, but they do have a Transcendence for this fight. You would love to see it, but Rookie is in such a dangerous spot and can farm up this next Graviton Surge very quickly. And it looks like TSL knows the advantage that they have. They try to push through with the Transcendence, but they don't find any successes. They end up falling and losing 1, so LGD will push back forward. They still have a Graviton Surge very close here, so they could use this to clean everything up. We're down to the 30-second mark, so this will be essentially last fight territory. And you take a look at the ultimates, it's going to be a pretty even fight here again, Geo.
There we go, the Graviton Surge coming straight out. They're just going to be dealing straight into 666 Legends, sending them back to the spawn with just 20 seconds to go. And Shift, having that Zarya on the high ground there is so vital because not only is she free to build up her charge and ultimate charge, but there's just no one on 666 Legend who can do anything about it. They have the Ashe in lieu of a D.Va, which means there's actually no one who has the mobility to actually deal. And with time ticking down here, it's looking like 666 Legend may actually be able to get it if LGD Gaming don't contest too hard.
Hold your breath for that one. They use the Graviton Surge, but there's nobody else here for TSL to follow up, so it was an opportunity just to play your life out a little bit longer if you're Umbra. Hold on to that Graviton Surge and then come through with it once your rest of your frontliners get there, but that's not the case. LGD will push it back, and it's essentially a full hold. 1 tick of progress and some change was all that TSL was able to find, and I have to just pick your brain here, Geo, because this Ashe pick, you hit it so nicely. When you're trying to hit a team on top of the high ground, the Ashe is very, very difficult to find the efficiency. I'm a little bit lost, at least, on what the logic was for staying on it for as long as they did, because the bomb only came out once.
Yeah, well, the bomb did actually also come out right at the end there, but of course it was a bit too late for it to really do much. And I would have preferred to have seen a Sombra. I think not only does she provide more of a threat for the enemy Sombra, but also on a map like this where the defense often stands in one place, we see at that front high ground, it'd be so much easier to actually go in and force the defense to be aware of you. You can get in a hack, you can hack some health packs, you maybe farm up an EMP, which can be used very well on a point like that. And Ashe would be great on a defense because, again, she has that high ground advantage. She can throw down her dynamite, use as a shield break. She obviously has a very, very good primary weapon. But when you're playing it from the low ground, there's just not all that much you're going to be able to achieve. And yeah, as you say, throwing in the Bob didn't really get all that much value, and it still requires the follow-up, because if the entire team is there, they can bring him down fairly quickly. He does have 1200 HP, but against 6 people, it can be quite easy. So I have to question the Ashe pick as well, I'll be totally honest with you, and I think that when it didn't work the first time, that would have been the ideal time to have switched off, because then they could have worked on building up the ultimate for another hero. So yeah, that's a question mark from me.
Yeah, it was an interesting take on it. I get what you're going for. You're trying to use the dynamite to displace people, but again, it's just such a hard angle, and with that many shields on board, it's just hard to find those closing shots. So now LGD will give their go at offense, only needing 41.6% to make it happen, and they try to come out with something a little bit more DPS-centric and think that maybe not so much the case, as LGD will swap back over to your, again, spy goats, as I like to call it. Every time I say that, I think of that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats, with George Clooney. I don't know if you've seen that, but that's what I think of every single time.
I've seen people make memes of that movie.
Fair enough. That's exactly what I think of every single time. But TSL with again, now the Ashe on defense, so we'll see how this one plays off with the Orisa coming in.
Yeah, I think LGD are just going to head straight for the point, because the whole point of 666 Legends composition is having this bunker up on this high ground here, staying in one position, that they could be forced out of their position fairly easily if LGD commit to their engage. They don't really want to be standing around here for too long, but I mean, well, I was going to say they were trying to get the back cap there. It's going to roll back. They didn't quite hit that first point, but here they go, heading for the point now.
Nice speed boost to push through, but I would say Secret took so much damage. Good shots from LRC and the rest of the gang. TSL do have themselves an advantage, but I say that if the EMP comes through, LGD thinks that they can win this fight, and it looks like they absolutely will. Really great EMP, pushes everybody off of point, and it's over before you know it. LGD will take Blizzard World just like that, and we have some astonishing things to go through. That was brilliant. I thought it was over, honestly. Zenyatta goes down. You already used your speed boost. I thought for sure that the fight was going to go down, but the EMP comes through and very nice timing. Panda, you had a very curious face on when you saw that, so what do you got to say about it?
I think what I can mostly say from this is that TSL are just struggling to keep up with the pace of the entire team of LGD. More importantly, they're struggling just to decide whether or not they should go forward with DPS or turn back and try and attempt to deal with Wan Lee's backline pressure. I'm at a loss for words, man, and I know that says a lot, especially for me that can speak a mile a minute about this game and the passion that I have for this, but TSL, man, the heck was that comp on attack? You don't find value in that comp on attack. You just don't. It's either you go Sombra with that comp, you go 3-2-1 Sombra, or you just go full 3-3. Without that Diva, your tanks in your backline are as good as dead. You're going to get hacked out continuously. More importantly, Coach Gun in Dynamite, they do absolutely nothing to deal with the Sombra. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but the one thing that evidently does, and we have yet to really see it in this region so far, is CC. You can bring quad tank, you can go Super McCree with that flashbang, and you can still have that Brigitte there as a second shield bash to deal with the Sombra or the Reinhardt as you so choose. It's just how you end up dealing with it effectively. Leaving an Ashe on the high ground, a Widowmaker, any sort of sniper on there in a 3-2-1 concept, it's just not the play there, Chief. LGD Gaming just, again, able to pick up on all those scraps, and it's just led by, you know, good support play. Hoyo Shen recognizing when to amp it out, speeding the front line into the entire team of TSL. Again, without that Diva to mitigate the damage from Secret, they're always softened up and always down on resources.
Yeah, we did also see at the end the responsibility once again fell on LRC on the Ashe, because once Wanli brought out the EMP, we see LRC still up there on the high ground, and he was the only member really who wasn't caught in that, who could really deal a significant amount of damage, which meant that he was trying to shoot into onto the point to keep LGD back. It wasn't really going to work, and he had the wall in the way as well. And as soon as that EMP came out, TSL were as good as dead.
It's really maybe a little bit more one-sided. Okay, I don't want to say it's one-sided.
Hey, they reversed that last week.
I was just about to bring that up. The reverse sweep happened last week, and that's what we're trying to pin up for this one here. Panda's feeling pretty saucy with it. I know you're feeling feisty.
I'm always feeling saucy, man. It doesn't have to be a reverse sweep to get me feeling saucy.
But it helps. I've been told that it does help. It's true.
A little bit of extra mixture to the pot of spice.
Well, I will say this much. LGD's Overwatch Twitter tweeted out before this match that 666 Ledger are going to wake up tomorrow wondering where things went wrong. And I think after that offensive comp, they might be a little bit extra stirring in their sleep.
I don't think they need to wonder. I think they just need to be like, oh yeah, it's the Ash pick. It's pretty obvious.
They can only learn. They can only learn. And heading into hybrid, it's going to end up only benefiting them. I can only hope.
You can only hope. Again, it's not realm of the possibilities here if TSL does end up losing this matchup. They're not going to be a contender for playoffs because they still have a matchup next week where they can possibly secure themselves. But this one obviously helps. So reverse sweep still needed for TSL. LGD don't want to see that happen. We'll see what happens in map number 3 right as we come back. Spy Goats coming through with...
That's your new name for it, Spy Goats.
I love it. I'm sorry. I love it. It's what's going to happen. Actually, Tanshu will be the person scouting, so he'll come back and it'll be your normal 3-3.
Okay, well, 666 Legend, they are going to continue on with the Ash as well as this bunker comp with the double turret, but of course this time it is going to be on the defense, so a little bit more appropriate. But LGD Gaming, if they can actually get behind them and force out that positioning from them, once again, it's going to put TSL at a massive disadvantage, because whether or not they get behind them, if they go around through space, or if they just go straight onto the point and start, you know, ticking it up for themselves, it's going to mean that 666 Legend are going to have to play to their tune.
We've got turret on turret action. It'll be the Torbjorn also in play here with Bastion, and it looks like it was a little bait and switch from LGD. They try to feign over towards this right-hand side prospectively just to see if they can force the rotation out. And now Rookie and the rest of the team will scout out what's happening, and they'll go for the high ground. I really like this play a lot from LGD just positionally. Shush, though, will just be holding down left click, try to chew through all of these shields, and looking to hope that his Orisa can keep him nice and safe from any incoming damage. Looks like so far the answer will be yes, but no damage really being secured yet onto LGD either. And Rookie at full charge as well, so this is getting a very dangerous spot, which comes down to can you find the first eliminations as both teams poking at each other so far. LRC already has the bomb though, so an opportunity to potentially add a 7th man to the mix, and there he comes, Hoyo-chan, the first one to fall, and now LGD is in a very awkward and vulnerable spot as they do lose Tanshu as well. It looks like TSL will hold on to this first defense.
I think LGD didn't necessarily take advantage of some of the opportunities that they could have there, and what they ended up doing was using resources like the projected barrier to just sort of hang around there while they were being halted, which meant when they actually tried to engage onto the point, they just had nothing for themselves.
And this is absolutely devastating. Rookie gets caught out early, and they force out the Transcendence. 666 Legend looking really solid on this defense so far. Again, a very awkward spot throughout the rest of that fight as LGD was completely split apart from their respawning teammates. So this was likely going to already be a TSL victory as they could sit themselves up to punish those incoming players, but they're able to take the back end no problem. So now we're just left with 1:42 for the next push from LGD.
Yeah, and LGD, they do have the sound barrier ready to go, which can give some power to their engagement. But look at the ultimates on the side of 666 Legend. Not only are they so close to the Molten Core, but they have 4 sitting there already, as well as the Nano Boost, which can add so much power, give that 50% damage buff, as well as the extra HP to whichever hero Soba decides.
This Molten Core can be so dangerous. Sush is doing so much damage. He's able to take down Tanshu first, and he's going to add insult to injury. Configuration take comes through, and likely not going to find much with it, but the fact of the matter is they're able to already set themselves up for what will likely be a successful defense pending anything incredible from LGD. They're still here kind of toggling around, but you just need to die at this point, I feel like, if you're LGD. Any time that you sit here is time off the clock, especially if they can sniff out the rest of the health pool of the Zarya here. Rookie is out by himself, but the rest of LGD is actually come off of respawn without Raphael being here. No Molten Core is here. Now the Graviton surges in the backline. Are you kidding me, TSL? How do you let this happen? LGD is in a spot to potentially put this point in their favor. No problem. Bob is there trying to distract for as long as possible. And now finally Kaneki's getting back into the mix, but it looks like TSL will hold on. But whoa, they put themselves in a really bad spot for a moment there.
Yeah, they're going to want to wait for the supercharge to be... Okay, it's down now. They can actually start to make their engage, and with just 20 seconds left, this is pretty much the last chance they have to do it, but there are still those 2 turrets aiming straight down onto them, and the self-destruct. Not going to get anyone, though.
Hoyo-chan, interesting left, swapped over to the Widowmaker, maybe to put some pressure from behind while the rest of his team is out in the front. We'll see if that pans out. Looks like the answer is no, as Hoyo-chan is almost instantly melted. Transcendence comes through to keep the rest of the point fight alive. We are in overtime. Rookie will take down the turret, so at least a little bit of damage out of the way, but now we've got a configuration tank in the back line. Not able to find much with it, though. He had a nice angle. Wan Lee with 2. All of a sudden, LGD in a position of power as they have 5 players still fighting for the point. Sober will be taken down. DPS also low, and LGD in overtime will finish off capture point A.
Finally managing to flip things around for themselves there with just under 4 minutes to take point B. TSL, of course, switching things up for themselves. They're actually going to bring Raphael out on the Sombra and cause some chaos with those hacks. But LGD, of course, going to be sticking with what they have, hoping to build up those ultimates and maybe take a fight a little bit more decisively than happened on point A.
Well, there is a boost ready for Sober. And LRC very close to another Bob. So those are the 2 defensive ultimates for 666 Legend, and they will actually have LGD coming right at him. DPS in a lot of trouble, is in almost the dire straits here as he will be taken down. Rookie also close to a Graviton Surge. Important to note, Tanshu does fall. So there is a little bit of a frontline for frontline battle and exchange happening. Bob also in the mix will essentially add another big body to the point, which will allow TSL to make sure no damage is done to the actual capture point itself. Setting up in front of everybody is Sush, but I don't know if that's exactly the spot you want to be in, my friend. Actually, maybe it will be, as he's getting a lot of self-sustain in the nick of time as they're able to clean up LGD just before anything came out.
Yeah, and I've been seeing Sober get some actually really key sweeps here. On the last point, he ended up landing one onto Wan Lee, which caused Tonshio to have to use his shield, and then that's what led the rest of the team to go down. But right there, I believe he got it onto Rookie, allowing TSL to bring him down too, and it's just causing so many problems and really chewing down the time bank that LGD have to take this point, and forcing them now to take a different rotation to one that they've already tried. All the Graviton Surge shift.
This is going to be a good spot to rotate from, though. Again, you're just denying space for the Bastion, as you mentioned. The Graviton Surge comes through. Nice biotic grenade, though, gets put right onto Tanshu, and he is able to get taken down even through the Transcendence. No healing comes out. Configuration tank will clean up everything else, likely at least, as he's able to find 3. And then the rest of the team will follow up and take care of Rookie. Very solid defense. And again, great Bionade placement from Sober.
And that was just such a brutal tank configuration as well, because not only did he have the supercharge acting on him, but he also received the nano boost off of the Ana. So there was just no way LGD were going to survive through that. But actually, 666 Legend switching things up a little bit now, switching off the Arista and actually putting DPS onto that Reinhardt. So maybe if he can, you know, get some cleave damage and build up an Earth Shatter, this could bring down LGD in a way that allows the team to land on them. Oh, man.
3-man biotic grenade comes out again. Everyone else has the same through, but now it's Raphael with the huge EMP combo with the Graviton Bomb, and that's going to be enough for the self-destruct sequence to do enough, and LGD will be turned aside once again. And I guess the good news was they didn't really have much to use in the first place, so at least we're getting out 2 ultimates, but still, there's a lot left for TSL to use. That feels bad.
She's sleeping. Let her nap.
That feels bad. And the body block, too.
Brutal stagger, brutal stagger. And TSL, they do actually have the bomb ready to go again, which we've already seen can cause so many problems for LGD. I'm wondering here if Umbra's going to switch. There we go. Going straight onto that Zarya, we'll be able to provide the bubble for DPS, as well as potentially build up a Graviton Surge and deal even more damage. But with less than a minute to go, LGD don't really have time to sort of hang around.
No, but they still need ultimates is the problem here, Geo. They don't have anything to use besides a sound barrier for support, and Wan Lee with a self-destruct Tanshu would love to get an Earth Shatter charged up, but he's already dealing with some issues of his own. Sober will throw out the nano boost, and it will come through just the nick of time. DPS doing a lot of damage, also trying to farm up his own Earth Shatter, which he does get, and look at this, LGD is completely trapped behind the safety glass, and Tanshu falls, and oh goodness. Oh, actually, DPS does not hit anything with that Earth Shatter simply because we're taking a look at Rookie already shielded up, but the damage again with Tanshu being down is just too much to go through. Coach Gun just getting out of the way of the self-destruct sequence, a last-ditch effort of a desperate man, or a mech, I guess if you want to say. It's just secret in the end, and with the time fading away, it'll just be Tanshu trying to come through once again. Will not be able to touch in time, though, so 666 Legend will hold on to the second point, no problem.
Well, we did say at the beginning that there was a potential that TSL could show that they're great at Horizon Lunar Colony, but I want to know what Panda was looking at on that, because there are actually quite a lot of good plays coming out from TSL.
Yeah.
Beating T1W definitely gives you a strong showcasing on how good you can be on Horizon Lunar Colony. It's not their composition, so it's their ability to play the terrain properly as well. Even getting the split spawns, but still sticking on the bunker composition, realizing that there was only one way they were going to take the fight, and that's to get on top of that peak where you see most Widowmakers play on point B defense, and quite literally showcasing where LGD are very weak, and that's in the tank lineup again. Not necessarily played out when you have tank v tank in the tail of the tape for this matchup, but when it comes down to shield management, when it comes down to bubble and resource management coming from LGD Gaming, just in raw ability to initiate with the Transcendence alone, they're not that good. And they always end up hesitating in those manners. And that hesitation, we spoke about it in previous matches on this very day, that moment of hesitation against a composition like a Bastion comp backed up by a bunker of DPS, yeah, it's good. You cannot hesitate. You have to hit the go button, and you have to get in there quickly. If you're going to commit with the Transcendence, you better go in all the way and take care of that Bastion immediately. Even making the move, taking away that Ironclad from Bastion is a win within its own self, because that's 35% more damage you can inflict onto the Bastion itself.
Yeah, there was even that point at the beginning where TSL actually moved their entire composition to sort of reposition themselves, and LGD almost had the opportunity where they could have gone up behind them and completely attacked them from behind, because they were so out in the open, and they just didn't. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here on their defenses. They're going for something actually quite similar with the Orisa.
You are looking at Kaneki playing on the Junkrat instead of a Bastion this time around, essentially the same composition besides that. And for 666 Legend, they were expecting maybe something a little bit different, as Raphael will be on the Genji. He's going to stick with it. Already at 15% to a Blade. They're looking for that Nano Blade combination. Shush actually doing a very good job with his charge. Goodness, already at 80% and counting. He's going to have this Nano boost in no time. And that essentially will allow them to use this very early on if they want to, because Raphael's nowhere near a Blade, so this could be a very early advantage. Here comes 666 Legend diving on in, trying to look for the Swift Strike resets, but Juan Lee will push people back with a Coach Gun and then reset himself just afterwards. And LGD will have to reposition, but again, a lot of free real estate here for 666 Legend to rotate back around the backside of the point and look for their next approach, as they are, again, looking to possibly use this boost. There goes Sush, able to use it on the DPS, who's looking for the damage. They take down Hoyon-chan first, looking to take care of the Junkrat second. That should be an easy kill. This comes down to cleaning up players on the point. There's only 4 players left standing. Juan Lee, though, will add a 5th with Bob into the mix. So able to take down Umbra. This comes down to being able to have the sustain to stay in this fight. It does not look like they do, as 666 Legend are rolling right on in and holding down the W key to try to finish this point off. It looks like they should be able to do it without a problem.
Yeah, with Tonchio distracted there, it was just so easy for him to be taken down from behind. And Orisa should actually be a really difficult hero to bring down, especially with her Fortify ability. But at that point, LGD had kind of been ripped apart a little bit, that there wasn't really the ability to kind of help out one another. So 666 Legend going to be coming into point B with just over 6 minutes on the clock, which is over 2 minutes more than LGD did have when they were entering into point B. And they do have the Dragon Blade ready to go, actually. They didn't use it on point A, and that could be pretty dangerous.
I mean, again, you said it's 6 minutes for, here's the big thing, 1 tick of progress needed. EMP will start things off. Blade will come through. It is a naked Blade, no boost behind it. Will there be enough damage to funnel through? Enough to at least take down Secret, and then 1 more on point. That'll be likely enough to finish off the map, no problem. Sound barrier comes through to secure, and all it takes is a little bit of progress. 666 Legend. Speed running through this map, no problem. After a very successful hold, LGD now only looking at a 1 map differential in their point lead.
Yeah, catch TSL at AGDQ. I mean, they just look like a completely different team.
Panda, what do you, I mean, you didn't have much to look at there on offense, but I'm sure you still have some thoughts.
I only had, the one question I definitely have comes down from Tank Shoe's rotation on Orisa there for the secondary shield on point A, in fact. When you put down that shield in a very wide open place that is point A, Horizon Learner Colony, well, it's quite literally a monkey's playground. And what that opens yourself up to is a multitude of flanks. Sombra, Genji, DPS, and Umbra on dive tanks too. Not to mention all of the biotic damage coming through from Shush. I mean, charging a nano boost within 30 seconds is going to set up the rest of the team for success, and that's exactly what you saw. Pressuring LGD into an unwanted position only allowed a huge snowball to come through. And like you said, quite the naked Blade indeed. Still able to find 1 or 2 value because of that 33% tick needed. 666 Legend just able to walk away over top of LGD's mistakes.
Yeah, I think something really key as well with that Genji pick is Genji's pretty good against the Junkrat, because with a Junkrat, you're relying on these projectiles actually hitting your targets, and obviously with the deflect, you can just send them straight back, and it just really stops him from really getting as much out of that hero as you may like, and effectively that puts you in a 5 versus 6 situation. And it just meant that going into that defense, LGD were already, you know, one hand down.
Yeah, that individual LRC, I gotta say, a fantastic player coming in here. Week 4 for this individual normally, where we would see Runcheng, and we're seeing this new individual come in and have a grand showcasing, good hacks coming through, very quick EMP to set up Umbra's bombs there on second. You saw in the highlights, finding a 5-man EMP, at minimum 2, and still finding value with it as well. So a good Sombra player coming out here from TSL, able to back up the pressure that DPS is putting on.
So my biggest question here for both of you before we head to a break here, was this showing enough for 666 Legend to get the ball rolling for the reverse sweep, or does it still look like if LGD has their map pick, they can probably end it in 4?
I think maybe they look strong, but also when we look back to Escort, which is obviously very similar, Hybrid, which is obviously very similar to Escort, that's where they look their weakest, arguably. So, I don't know, it could be anyone's game here. I'm not convinced that it's going to be a reverse sweep.
Panda? Mute button, Panda?
You never really know in those situations. It could definitely happen. I mean, heading in and taking away from that reverse sweep that TSL did last week, anything's possible.
Anything's possible. We'll see what happens, though. LGD, again, still holding on to the 1-map differential lead. We'll be heading to our pure escort map, just the backside of this break.
Season 3. That said, judging by Horizon Lunar Colony, TSL proved that they have a very, very strong defensive bunker comp, which is something that we do see, especially on the first point here, on Watchpoint Gibraltar. You often see it be set up directly in front of the spawn, and if you can do one very successfully, then you can have a very good hold and burn down that time bank for the attacking team. So, although, actually, you know, it doesn't really look like that's going to be coming out. They are starting off on the attack. Changing things up, it looks like.
Sure does. TSL looking for the pulled pork combo to start things off in the high ground. Not able to find the hook halts, whatever you want to say. Pulled pork, hook halt, all the different like alliterations that you want. Yeah, pulled pork is good too. I like
I'm
that
hungry
well.
now, though.
You're welcome anytime.
No,
Secret will be again sitting on the high ground here. Again, LGD looking for that opportunity of when they want to hit the go call. When do you want to get on in and try to put yourself in a spot to actually jump on down? Looks like there will be a little bit of a stagger between both of our teams, and Oyo-chan will try to help out to boost everyone back towards the backside here, as again TSL looking to make their way through this proverbial car wash side, and looks like they're doing a pretty decent job of moving this payload so far without much hindrance.
Yeah, the car wash is actually kind of difficult because as the defending team, you have to time perfectly when you want to jump down and get involved. It is basically a massive glorified choke point. Yeah. But it's looking like LGD are starting to bring the fight, although Wonley getting hacked.
Yeah, and LGD, again, rookie, not even at nearly full charge at all, so a lot of charge still to go, not only for damage, but also on the ultimate. Raphael already to an EMP. Do you even need to use it here is the question. Hush goes down, so it might be worth, and they will. Rookie, who was getting near full charge, will be the target. And Hand Transcendence, though, comes out. Oh, that's absolutely brilliant to keep the fight alive for LGD. Even though they do lose Kaneki, they do get a D-Max, so you're looking at essentially a 5-on-5 here, and it looks like TSL will have to back away. Really good play there from Secret to stay out of the EMP range.
Yeah, TSL will be backing away here, as you say, but they are going to come in with a couple of ultimates. And one thing I really like from that fight is they showed they have very good peel potential, as one of their members did get dived on. I think it was Shush. So, and then you got both DPS and Raphael actually trying to take that out on the member of LGD Gaming who was dealing in the damage. And if they can keep things like that up and actually have that target prioritization and peel potential, this could go very well for them.
It very well could, but Raphael needs to break his way up to the next EMP because Rookie has got himself Graviton Surge. We're close to a sound barrier as well. Will be the rally to start things off. Rookie looking for an opportunity to drop down this Graviton Surge. He takes a look where Tonshu is. TSL trying to stay in this fight for as long as possible as Tonshu does fall, but Rookie is near full charge. The Graviton Surge fades away as the sound barrier did come out for TSL, and they've got numbers now to push on forward. I don't think anybody else from LGD will actually commit the sound barrier to this. They think they can still win it. I don't know if I agree with the call. It looks like TSL will be able to clean things up on the back end of the play regardless, with the Transcendence also being used for LGD. Geo, I'm a little bit lost on the staggered play here.
I'm not sure so much about this Primal Rage here. I don't see how Tonshu can save things, and especially with the EMP coming out there, just on LGD, there's no one who can really kind of get through this, I don't think.
But Rookie's near full charge still, so now as the supports come back off the respawn, everything is staggered through, and it just comes down to isolated fights. Graviton Surge used DPS, is trying his mightiest to swing through, but Rookie is doing a lot of damage. Not enough, though, unfortunately. And with Tanshu fading in the backlines, again, it's just scrappy fight after scrappy fight. The numbers do favor LGD, though, still. TSL doing a decent job of staying in the fight. Will hit the sound barrier just before this payload touches checkpoint A, giving themselves a chance to contest, but Rookie is still near full charge, and he's working towards another Graviton Surge. There's no other way for TSL to deal with this. They're just waiting for the EMPs, as they do not have a Zarya of their own. And I don't think that's exactly the matchup they need. There's just not enough damage here from TSL, which is why LGD is able to stay alive for so long. And it looks like now finally Rookie will have enough to take care of some of the supports that have been pesky. TSL's defense will surely falter here.
Yeah, and they only have just over 10 seconds left to go. They have to come in and actually use these ultimates they have in any attempt to take this fight, but they have to get their first shift.
Oh no, this is terrible. DPS is completely staggered out. He has to use the primal range just to try to get back towards his team, and that's not going to be enough. The EMP comes through, but again, it misses Secret. So LGD is holding on. Overtime is here we're at. No main frontliner here for TSL. DPS with the dramatic and, of course, desperate swap to the wrecking ball, but I just don't think that's going to be enough. He's going to come by and only see bodies of his fallen comrades. Likely so. Here he is, joining with the adaptive shield, doing what he can to swing around like the pendulum that he is, but will fall quickly. And LGD, however, did you put together that defense?
Whew. Man, I mean, I think what really happened there was the fact that there was no resetting, you know. As the fight started to turn around, what you would like to see is a team start to reset and come in with their next idea of how they're going to do things. And the aim is you force out the ultimates from the enemy team. So if the defending team bring out ultimates, don't immediately respond with your own, back out, and then come into a fresh new fight where you know exactly what it is you want to do with your ultimates and know the enemy team are one down because they've already used theirs. But that didn't happen in this case. What constantly happened was a very long, drawn-out fight where pretty much as soon as anyone got ultimates, they were using them. And that meant that by the time the fight was won, in this case by LGD, there was only about 15 seconds left on the clock for TSL to actually make their next engage, which meant they just never reached that checkpoint.
It just seemed to be like the fortune favors the bold, because LGD were just using ultimates just to stall out time. It kind of felt like at the end of that kind of scrappy fight, and all of a sudden you get a couple picks saying, hey, we can actually win this as everyone comes off the respawn. So TSL, yikesers, you got to find a way to hold even more better than what we just saw from LGD. This is looking like a pretty dire strait here for TSL.
Yeah, this is a pretty high pressure situation for them as well, because, you know, everybody talks about how you're already in the advantageous position when you start off on the defense, because it means that you have a much better idea of what you're aiming for when you're on the attack. And now TSL, all they know is, okay, well, we only got it like a couple of meters down the road and we've got to try and hold this. And so far LGD have been pretty good. So, high pressure, but, you know, you can always keep an optimistic outlook. Looks like they are going to be running that 3-2-1 composition.
And LGD just taking it to him very quickly here, and they're not even holding off. It's just go, 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 my friends. Rookie's full charge. He's feeding the hot hand. Already you're seeing Umbra out of neck and taken down. This is not looking great. Oh my goodness gracious, TSL, how do you come back from this? DPS also staggered away. I guess fortunately so, Raphael is already at 56% charge to the EMP, while Rookie's only at 35% to the Graviton Surge. So as far as, you know, game-winning ultimates, you do have a slight advantage there, but you still have to do this with the payload knocking at your door.
Yeah, the payload moving so quickly. Is anyone even going to get an ultimate before it gets there? I mean, come on, this is just going so fast. The aggression coming out from LGD is insane.
But they are able to find a little bit of a backline pressure here as TSL, but do not lose track of the objective, please. We do not want to see a letter number here. This would not be the way things should end. Secret will hit a Transcendence first. Raphael goes down, no EMP all of a sudden. Rookie at full charge. He's going to get a Graviton Surge pretty quickly, and you can already see Shush is in the Transcendence, so by the time that fades away, there's going to be a Graviton Surge here, and Tanshu with the Earth Shatter might not even be needed. Able to find a couple down. TSL will also drop in, pardon me, a sound barrier, as Rookie did get taken down before that full charge came out. So an opportunity to hold here, but DPS has to go into the primal range to make sure nobody can sit on the point. Do they have anyone even touching the point right now? Oh goodness, I thought for a second there that you were going to see Hoyo-chan just hit on the payload and just ride it to victory, but they will hold for now, will TSL.
I got just over 2 minutes to do so, and LGD do have ultimates on the board that they can just bring back. We want to be looking for 666 Legend Raphael to be using that EMP before LGD even have a chance to bring out the Sound Barrier, to bring out the Graviton Surge, because if they do it slightly too late, then this fight's won by LGD.
Raphael has to hit this back line. He absolutely has to. Rookie will start things off. Raphael's down! That's absolutely the game. It has to be DPS down, Raphael down, Umbra, unless you've got some heroics in this self-destruct. He will not. It's looking very, very bad. Can they stagger enough and allow the respawns to come through? That's the biggest question. I'm not even sure if it's going to make a difference, though, as the mech gets taken away, plus the pilot diva. Tanshu has an Earth Shatter ready to go once his hack fades away, if he even needs it. It looks like the Transcendence will happen first. I'm sure the Earth Shatter will happen second. There it is. Earth Shatter is able to find 4, and now it's just LGD running through now with the Transcendence here as well. LGD will likely punch their ticket all the way through, and they will to a 3-1 victory. And just the smallest of things don't go TSL's way, not only on the offense, but also on the defense, leads to their fall away. And goodness, I'm sure the emotions are running high there, but I want to get the emotional take on Panda first.
My emotional take? Sure.
Yeah. Pure raw emotion is from the chest.
My raw emotion just purely questions the target prioritization from TSL across all of that. It's not only just their inability to find any sort of value on their ultimates in that final moment too, but when you see a high charge Zarya use their personal bubble and just kind of left out in the open while all 3 supports are trying to support Tangshu on that defense, yeah, you go for that high charge Zarya instead, because what you're going to inevitably have, especially where the payload was and the capture point is defenders' favors as far as spawn room is concerned. And when Kaneki ended up coming back as Brigitte first, and then ended up keeping Rookie alive, cycling through that first Graviton, shutting down DPS's Primal Rage, which was initially used to keep himself alive, and then turned into Moral Charge for the rest of the team, turned into a stabilization. And that's exactly where TSL went wrong throughout the entirety of Watchpoint Gibraltar. Even in early picks, in early engagements, even finding early damage, they struggled to stabilize in the middle of a team fight, which only set themselves up for failure in the late fight, because that only meant that LGD can continuously take space on attack with this Reinhardt. They know that they don't have to play the high ground. At TSL, they have to go to them, which is, as both of you were very concerned, we were going to maybe see a letter number at that, because LGD were playing for the point where TSL were playing for the picks the entire time. LGD Gaming just outsmarting their opponent there, as TSL were struggling to finalize a full team kill.
Yeah, I think to me it also became very obvious that TSL just weren't doing everything that they could to support the members of their team who were trying to make dives or make engagements, because I think there was one point where DPS wasn't really in the fight, but Umbra tried to jump in, and he didn't have so much as a Harmony Orb on him, which ultimately isn't going to do all that much, but he could have at least received a Projected Barrier, which I know you generally reserve for the main tank, but when the main tank isn't anything to do with the fight, and a member of your team has decided to jump in, at the very least you could gain some charge from that and bring your Zarya up, and there were these sort of missed opportunities where they just didn't support the members of their team in ways that they could have, and ended up losing members very quickly and not gaining anything from it where they potentially could have.
Indeed. So again, playoff, I just want to wrap this thing all up with a pretty little bow. LGD with the win here will put themselves in a prime spot to finish in the top 4. However, though, Panda, as we take a look at what's coming up for TSL, they will have their final Week 5 matchup against the Alter Ego squad that we just saw earlier. I mean, expectations for both these teams as they try to finish out their season?
Their playoff hopes are out of their hands, though, Shift. It's not just down to that win, and surely you could chalk it up, I suppose, that they would get a quote-unquote free win against a weaker opponent of Alter Ego, but this team still struggles, and where they're still going to struggle even past that that Week 5 matchup, which is the second game of the second day next week, if you wanted to know, is that it all comes down to a multitude of other circumstances. How does BTRG end up playing? Does LGD end up dropping multitude of maps next week as well? Because you have to look at their opponents at the same time, which is each other. And that's the most important implication for if TSL is going to be able to make it into playoffs or not. If they win against Alter Ego emphatically 4-0, and LGD end up taking a set maps, even a 4-0 in that point, could could traject TSL to take that 4th spot. They always find a way to sneak themselves into playoffs. It's definitely doable. I can see them doing it again. It's just going to be mad difficult.
Yeah, it's basically all just kind of up in the air right now. I mean, the series that we did earlier on in the day with BLG versus Alter Ego, you know, that's a little bit more decisive because this is top of the group versus bottom of the group. Whereas TSL versus LGD, you know, they came in today as 3rd and 5th in their group. So yeah, it doesn't just depend on what they're doing, but also what everybody else in the group is doing.
Well, we'll take a look. We, of course, have more Chinese contenders tomorrow featuring T1W taking on BTRG. The second set will be Flag Gaming and Lucky Future. And then Team for Victory will finish off our morning/afternoon, depending on where you are locally, against Team CC. But before we head off here, we've got Open Division coming up here at the top of the hour. So you do not want to miss that. It's going to be, I believe, on this channel as well. So don't go too far, as we're going to have more Overwatch action happening. We're getting confirmation. It will be here, so don't go anywhere. I'm going to get myself some food. Panda's going to get himself some food. I know it. Geo's going to get some lunch, I'm sure, because she's doing her England thing. I want
because you mentioned pulled pork.
You're
and that's,
so
honestly,
welcome.
It's just been on my mind.
I can't imagine any kind of pulled pork from Great Britain is any good. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave the broadcast with that. I went there. I said it. I'll catch you guys tomorrow with the rest of the gang. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. We'll catch you for the Open Division right after this. Until next time, hope you keep holding it down. So long.